Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar Making Your Life Easier with Mainstream and Assistive Gadgets. I'm Stella Glory and I will be your host for this afternoon, and our expert is David Woodbridge. But before we start, I'd just like to give an acknowledgement of country. So today I am meeting on the lands of the Kulin Nation, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I would like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and future, and any other Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. Now, recording of this webinar can be accessed later via our webpage at visionaustralia.org/check-in and chat. And during the webinar, you can submit questions by using the chat functionality. And people who use screen readers can access the chat function through keystroke Alt-H, and that's H for Harry. And we'll answer questions as best we can and as many as time permits. So now to our expert. David Woodbridge is the National Commercial Assistive Technology Advisor for Vision Australia, where he has worked since 1990. I think that's 30 years. And he is also the host of the radio program Talking Tech, which is, I guess, most people will know you from. Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon. 1990 sounds okay. 30 years, I don't know if it sounds absolutely fantastic.
No,
so I'll just stick to the 1990 bit.
1990 feels like last week. So my opening question is, what do we mean by mainstream technology and assistive technology or gadgets? What do we mean by what's the difference between mainstream gadget and an assistive gadget?
Yeah, so I like to keep this pretty straightforward. So I like to say that mainstream technology is any technology that you wander into any shop, whether a physical shop or online, and you purchase the equipment like everybody else does. Assistive technology is usually technology that's been adapted in some way to make it available for people with various disabilities. So whether you're blind, vision impaired, physical motor, hearing, etc., then some of those specialized equipments are assistive technology. So to give an example, you know, if you've got physical motor challenges, then you might need a wheelchair. So most wheelchairs that I know of, you really can't go into a shop and buy them. And yes, I know you can buy ones from Aldi, but really the proper ones are from an assistive technology provider. Or if you're blind or low vision, you might use a braille display. So you can read braille on this braille line to access the computer. Or if you're low vision, you might need or use a video magnifier, what I used to call back in the old day, a closed circuit TV, to look at stuff on a big screen to see what the actual camera is looking at. And then of course, what I'm going to be doing today is sort of taking everyone through a bit of a virtual, I guess, a bit of a walk around my house, and then we'll be weaving in those sort of mainstream bits and pieces, low tech and high tech, as well as the assistive stuff that I use at home as well.
Brilliant. So which room are we kicking off in?
Let's start in my favourite room, the kitchen first.
Oh, is that because you do all the cooking or all the eating?
Yeah, I do the cooking, absolutely.
Wow.
Yes. And in fact, when my wife comes into the kitchen, she normally gets told to go away.
Yes.
It's my kitchen.
Yeah, I cannot stand having somebody else in the room.
No, they just get in the way. So,
exactly.
So I'll just explain my kitchen a little bit to give you a bit of a feel to it. So basically what it is it's a new kitchen. So it's only 3 years old. So I got the chance, and my wife and I got the chance to actually put everything into it that we wanted to. So for example, I've got under cupboard track lighting. So particularly if you're low vision, which I'm not, I'm totally blind. But if you're low vision,
I was going to ask that question, like what perspective are you coming from? But we're also going to talk about low vision.
We are.
Yeah.
That's right, because I've got a few friends that pop over that are also low vision. So I wanted to be nice to them. Also for the fact I can say, well, look, you can go and get a drink at night time. You can go and get your own tea and coffee because the kitchen's nice and bright and light. With the pantry, when you open up the pantry, it's got an automatic light that comes on for contrast lighting for the shelves, so you can see what you're picking up inside the pantry, no more dark corners. And because my wife's uses a walker and sometimes uses a wheelchair, we've got automatic opening cupboards and doors. So you just push the actual cupboard door slightly and it opens up. So that's for her use. And then everything else is pretty standard. The typical, your hot plate with the knobs on it rather than a touch surface one. The microwave's got knobs on it. I don't have a talking microwave, unfortunately. And the really cool thing that I did get, and I just heard you breathe in for a moment, just let me get back to the microwave a minute. The oven is a really basic oven, because all I wanted was an oven that you could just turn the knob, have it go click, click as it went through, not hot plates, but, grill, fan force and so on, and then a timer. And you would not imagine how much hassle I had to go through to get a simple opening, closing, and simple knob-based oven. It was absolutely ridiculous. So now, did you have a question about my microwave?
Yeah, I wanted to get back to the talking microwave. Would you recommend talking microwaves? I know you said you don't have one.
Absolutely, because at the moment, the only thing I can really do with my microwave, even though it's got knobs on it or buttons on it, is, I can do the timer for 5 minutes by pressing the minute button 5 times. I can turn it on and off. I can set it for 30 seconds. But what I can't do is do things like defrost poultry or defrost bread, or do a mixture of, unfrozen vegetables and that sort of stuff. So whereas with a talking microwave, I could actually do that. Now, the only reason I don't have a talking microwave is because when we built the kitchen, everything got built into cabinetry. So my wife said, "You're not putting a talking microwave on our beautiful benchtop. You can just keep using that one. Thanks very much." So yes.
And what about simple things like, what about gas or electric? Is one preferable over the other?
Look, I'd say as a blind person personally, I find electricity is, for me, is personally much safer, because I always get a bit nervous about putting my hand near where the gas jet is. Now, I know you can get brackets that you can put around where the gas jet is, so you can put the pot on top of it. But I don't know what it is about gas stoves, but just because you've got that sort of grill type paneling across the top of the gas jets, to me, it almost feels unstable. Whereas I've got a flat glass plate on my hot plates, and it's got it's not raised, but I can feel the rings where the heat would normally come on. And then I've got normal knobs rather than a touch screen. So for me, electricity is better. I mean, if I could do it at the time and I could find one, I would have got induction, because induction, of course, is where it's magnetic pots that just come on and off, and it doesn't stay hot for that long, which is actually quite safe.
Now we can spend another 3 minutes in the kitchen.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, we could.
Yes. But if we can come back to the kitchen, hopefully. All right. Now, what are you holding up? Let me just show you.
This is a large print timer. So it's a simple manual timer. So you can simply just grab it here. I won't turn it on now because it'll go off and it'll start ticking to us. But it literally is a large print timer, and it's got raised numbers. So as a blind person, I can also feel it. But for me, it's when I'm cooking and I don't want to use my smartphone, or I don't want to use my Google Home. I just want something simple.
Yep.
I tend to use this timer. And the other gadget that I always use, I'm just stretching over to grab it here, is this one, which is a talking scales.
Excellent.
So when I've got to cook cakes and biscuits and I've got to weigh stuff, or my wife has to send stuff for stamping up for her craft room, she also borrows it to weigh her boxes. It's just a simple talking set of scales, which is really, really nice.
Can it talk at the moment? Can you?
It'll talk. The problem is it's not very clear speech.
Right.
So
these are nice, simple gadgets for someone who maybe hasn't streamlined their kitchen as yet, or they just need a couple of little things in their kitchen.
Yeah, my most favourite gadget, excuse me, is this one. So what it is you wind it out and you've got 3 little jaws teeth, and you put that on top of a lid, and then you roll it that way, turn it that way, so it grips onto the lid, and then you use the handle to grip it to get the lid off a really hard to get off lid or cap off a bottle.
That's fantastic.
So,
And that's also good for if you might have arthritis in your
exactly.
hands. Yeah.
Correct. And my wife's got very poor hand strength. So she sort of needs to have a long sort of spot where she can just put a whole hand on that and then just use almost a whole wrist and arm to pull around to get the lid off the jar. So
and what's really that called?
It's just called the jar opener with gripper. That's what it's called, and that's available from the Vision store. Now, do I have one more minute to show them my favourite gadget?
You do have one more minute to. Yeah, I feel like every gadget's going to be your favourite.
It is. This is my other favourite gadget. So this is actually this is a cool. It's called the Ember mug. So
Ember mug.
It's a Bluetooth enabled mug. So when I put it on its little saucer, it actually charges the mug so that when I put my coffee or tea in it, it stays hot by itself up to an hour. Or if I leave it on its little saucer, it stays hot all day. Now, I'm not going to leave my coffee in there all day.
This really is a gadget. This is a man gadget.
Well, when you're sipping your cup of coffee, you want sort of the ability to keep it hot. So, yeah, that was for Christmas last year or the year before. So, and just very, 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 very quickly, my last other gadget, which I had to buy for the kitchen, as you normally do for a new kitchen, I bought a $3,500 coffee machine, as you do, and it is completely app driven. So I've got an app that runs on my Samsung tablet or my iPhone or my iPad, and I can choose my particular type of coffee because it grinds it. I've got the water in it. It can actually make froth coffee, hot chocolate, all that sort of stuff.
All from your phone, all from an app.
All from my phone, yes.
Wow.
I mean, the only thing I've got to do is actually put the water and the beans in the machine. But besides that, it does everything for me.
Now we're going to have to stay in the kitchen. We've got lots of conversation going. Angelina says that she has a one-touch jar opener and it's fabulous. Cecile wants to know if VA retails this, and it does.
We do.
Melissa says your mug is awesome.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody appreciates my mug.
Wendy does talk about the scales, and she said the batteries on the scales with the jug bowl continually goes flat. So she has to remove the batteries and insert them again. And when she wants to use the scales, otherwise the batteries goes flat quickly before her.
I actually agree with that statement. Because when my wife has been using it in the study to weigh all her scrapbooking stuff and catalogues, and I had to do exactly the same thing this afternoon. I thought, what's wrong with these set of scales? It's got a full battery in it. I took it out, put it back in again, and it was fine. So yes, I'm glad somebody else has found that issue, because I thought my wife's broken it. What has she done to my talking scales? But no, it's the same issue that I've had. So yes, that's quite correct.
Michael would like to know where he can buy the mug.
You can buy the mug. If I bought mine from the Apple online store. So if you just search for the Ember mug, make sure that you don't get the Ember thermos mug, because it's got a touch screen on the side and you won't be able to use it. This is just the Ember mug.
Great.
So just make sure you get the right one.
So Doug wants to know what brand is the coffee machine. So you need a coffee machine that has Bluetooth capabilities.
It has to be Bluetooth enabled. Yeah. So last time I saw it, it was around about $2,000. So if I would have waited 3 years, I would have saved myself $1,500.
Right.
It's called the DeLonghi Prima Donna Touch Coffee Machine.
What room do we move in next?
Let's go. I'll tell you what. Let's go to the bathroom, because and now with the bathroom, I'm going to combine bathroom and health and exercise all into one.
Right.
Because when we did our Apple House down in Melbourne about 5 years ago at the major International Disability Conference, Apple actually built a house in the actual conference room, and we had different rooms set up. So that's why I said we'll do bathroom, health and exercise all together, because that's why we did an Apple about 5 years ago.
So are there any exercise machines that you'll be talking about today?
Well, my favourite exercise, and I think you can still find this, hopefully. I got an exercise machine, I want to say about 6 years ago now, but it's actually got buttons on it. So it's got real buttons that you just press to count how much your tilt is going up, how much your speed is going up, if you want to go straight to 8K an hour, if you want to start your program that you've preset, it does all that for you. Now, I know one of the guys, Nick Allen, that used to be on the help desk down in Melbourne, who's now hiding in the IT department. He's actually got or did have a running machine that was Bluetooth enabled. So maybe perhaps this year what I'm going to start to do is investigate more of these Bluetooth enabled exercise machines, not just the treadmill, because apparently via the health app on your Apple Watch and on your iPhone in particular, you can track the data coming out of these machines. So that will actually be really interesting. But for the moment, what I tend to use on my treadmill is my beautiful little Apple Watch here. Now, interestingly enough, this is the Apple Watch Series 3. I'm not convinced about how fantastic the Series 5 is yet, besides the fact that it's got that fantastic fall prevention for older people. But for this one at the moment, it does everything I need. It actually does my heart rate, it does my movement, it does my exercise. It'll tell me when I get to a set rate heartbeat because I can double check it. It does all that by just sitting on my wrist. Now, what people also say though about the Apple Watch is that it's a little bit too forgiving, because I swear that when my Fitbit says I've walked 10,000 steps, the Apple Watch reckons I've walked about 13,000. I think it's a lot more forgiving. The other one that I do is I'm trying to find it here in my pile. So here's my Fitbit Charge 2. Now, the nice thing about the Fitbit Charge 2, or the Fitbit itself, is the fact that, yes, it's got a touch screen, but it can be used on both Android and on the iPhone, which is why I like it, because I can use it on my Samsung S10, or I can use it on my Apple Watch, or I can also have it linked up via the Fitbit app to my Amazon Echo, my smart speaker. So I can ask it what my steps are at the moment through my Fitbit account. And the nice thing about the Fitbit one is the actual heartbeat monitoring seems to be a lot more direct on this one. So if I run the Fitbit app and I'm using my screen reader voiceover as a blind person or a low vision person, I can get instant telemetry of my heartbeat from the actual heartbeat monitor in the Fitbit versus the sort of the odd way that the Apple Watch does it. So if I'm doing very serious exercise and I want to know my heartbeat, that it's up around about 140 beats per minute, and I know I'm really doing lots of cardiovascular work, then I tend to use my Fitbit. If I'm just strolling or jogging or, up and down hills with the treadmill going up and down, then I tend to use my Apple Watch a bit more. But that's why I've bought both of them, because one does a bit and the other one does a bit more. If the actual Fitbit was a lot more accessible than what it is, rather than having to go through my iPhone versus having the Apple Watch just talk to me, then I'd probably have a Fitbit completely.
Okay. So what else have we got in your bathroom then?
Yeah, the other thing I've got in my bathroom, which I didn't bring out for the moment, is a talking set of scales.
Yes.
And they're quite good. The ones that I have were the ones that I got from last year from the RNIB, which is the Royal National Institute for the Blind. And they're actually quite good. I also have got one, and I don't think they sell them in Australia anymore. It was called the Why Things Body Scale. And what it did was it was clever enough to work on, from your weight or different weights in the family, which person stood on the scales.
Oh, so it says their name?
So it says their name. So it says, hi, David, or hi, Ellen, or hi, Owen, or hi, Lachlan. And then it keeps your own profile. So that's actually really good. And I had that one linked up to my iPhone.
And what ones were they again?
They were called the Why Thing, the We Things, or Why Things, WITHINGS, Why Things Body Analyzer Scales.
All right. Now, so what we might do at some point is, after the webinar, is list all the gadgets that you talk about and where they can be purchased.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But Anna asks, my bathroom scales have stopped talking to me. Well, half your luck is my answer to that. She said she's changed batteries, but does it mean they have broken, or is there a quick fix like the kitchen scales?
No. I'd say if they're not working, I'd be maybe if you bought them from Vision Australia, I'd be ringing up the Vision Australia on the 1300
you might
number.
Be under warranty.
Yeah, and just ask, because I did have ones. They weren't the ones that I've got. It almost feels like a tile. There's no screen on it. It's just purely like a flat glass tile that you stand on. Whereas the newer ones, which I think are more sort of almost like 2 feet that you sort of step on yourself with a screen in between them. I never quite trusted those ones, but the ones that I've got were absolutely fantastic. So they were quite good. But yeah, look, the scales, I think I've never really found a good reasonable set of scales except the Why Things Body Analyzer one. But talking scales, I've just found them a bit wonky every now and again.
Right.
Yeah.
So Wendy, in answer to this question, said, ensure that the power/volume is up. I have found this often happens in the bathroom.
Yeah, very weirdly on my one, you could actually press the bottom right-hand corner with your foot and you just kept pressing it and that would turn the volume up and down on the scales on my ones.
Now, somebody's asking, Michael's asking about the talking thermometer, and I'm presuming he's talking about a bathroom or a health one.
The fever thermometer. That's actually quite good. I had the older version, which is the one that you just pressed against your forehead, and it just detected your body temperature that way. That was quite good. I haven't tried the newer version. But I've found all the talking thermometers actually extremely good. There's been nothing wrong with them. So they've always been actually very accurate. When my son's had a 39 degrees Celsius temperature, it's been fine. Wow. I mean, luckily, my daughter's actually an emergency nurse. So she's always carrying around a thermometer in her pocket. So I always do it first, and then I get her to double check it with me, and it's always been around about 0.1 of a difference.
Anything else in the bathroom?
Yeah, look, this sort of goes for a bit of exercise. I just wanted to show to people that might remember these are the aftershocks. So these are the bone conduction headphones. So they go over your ears, but they've got little pads that go on your cheekbones and they transmit the audio through into your inner ear. And these actually work really nicely when you're out and about, taking your seeing eye dog for a long walk. People have also asked me about these ones. Now, these are these are the Bose augmented reality sunglasses / headphones. So I've also got a little band on the back of mine that I just bought off Amazon for about $6 just to keep them on my head properly. It's just little rubber things that just connect to the back of them. And the audio comes out of these little speakers. Now, when you're in a noisy environment, I'm here to say that if you're using things like Soundscape or a navigation app that talks to you and so on, you can hardly hear it because of the environmental noise. If you're using aftershocks, the previous ones, you can definitely hear them. But these ones, if you're in a noisy environment, they just, struggle a little bit too much for you to hear. So if you're in a quiet environment, they work quite well. And just finally for exercise, when we're talking about headphones, I'm going to have to say these are my absolute favorite yet again. These are the AirPods Pro. So these are the tiny little AirPods. And the nice thing about these AirPods is you can switch them between what's called transparency mode and noise cancelling mode. So transparency mode means they're using microphones on the inside and the inside for you to hear an environment in stereo. So you can hear when a car's coming behind you. When I'm on a train or an airplane flying somewhere, you put them in noise cancellation and you can hardly hear anything. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And what are they?
So these are the AirPods Pro.
And where can they be purchased from? I know we're going to list these.
Yeah, these are bought from the Apple Store, these ones.
Right.
They're about $319, so they're not cheap. But when we get to the bedroom a bit sooner than later, I want to show you one set of headphones that I just got for the bedroom, because the problem with these ones, because they're so tiny, when they fall out of your ears, they bounce and roll. And I've just decided there should be some sort of psychological thing called AirPod lost anxiety disease, because I get in the morning and go, oh no, where's my AirPod gone this time? I don't want to have to buy a new one. So so between the aftershocks, the Bose ones and the AirPods Pro, I've sort of got all my different lifestyle depending on what I'm doing sorted out quite nicely.
Now, Melissa has asked the question, and you can't tell her how to do it because we won't have time. But if someone has a Fitbit and Google Home and they want everything to work together, who can help set that up? Would that be our AT help?
That's the AT help desk, absolutely. Right. Yep, right. Absolutely.
We'll give you their details. Okay, we've got to get out of the bathroom.
Yep.
No talking soap.
No talking soap. No.
And now we're into the bedroom.
Let's go into the bedroom. So I'm just trying to, actually, let's do my next favorite. I think you're right, Still. I think all my gadgets are my favourites. Now, this
They're
is
like
something.
your children, aren't they?
I am. Look, I'm currently sitting in my toy room, which I tried to call the tech lab, but my children just say, "No, Dad, it's your toy room. You haven't grown up yet. You know, you might be over 50, but you're a boy."
Yeah.
So now, this is just a simple band that goes around the top of your head, and on each side of it, here inside of it, are very soft earphones inside them, and then in the middle here, if I open up this little Velcro, it says trying to find it. In here, hidden, I've got a little Bluetooth transmitter that I can take out and charge it, during the day. But the really nice thing about it, because you wear them as a band over your head, and you can just shush these along, jimmy them along inside to fit over your ears properly. You can lay on them, which means when you go to sleep at night time, the worst thing's going to happen is the whole thing's just going to slip off your head and land on your pillow. And you won't go through my anxiety about trying to find your AirPods Pro in the morning. But they're really comfy. They're beautiful on aircraft because they really do block out the sound, which means do not use them if you want to go out and about. And as my wife said, you want to look like somebody from Greece with your sports band on. They're not good for orientation mobility. They're going to block out too much sound. But for nighttime, for sleeping or meditating, listening to sort of, acoustic sounds and all that sort of stuff, absolutely beautiful. So they're from a company called Acoustic Sheep, which I think is a very nice name. And they're called sleep phones, and they're the Bluetooth model, not the wired model. So that's my other nice little gadget. And the other one that I was going to have, I sort of have these in my bedroom and around my house a little bit. This is actually the talking radio from Vision Australia. So if I press the time, he says doing this back to front, and hopefully I'll press the right button.
It is 14:24.
Okay, so it's 14:24. And if I did turn this on, it would say AM, FM radio. It would say the name of the radio station. When I twist the dial, it also clicks. So it feels like an old-fashioned radio. It tells me the frequency that I'm actually turning it to. If I hit the AM, FM button, it tells me on AM and FM. If I scan for a station, it tells you what it's landed on. And very rarely with these ones, if I plug in ports in the side here, so I plug in power if I want to, this runs on also batteries, plug in my headphone jack and so on, it actually says to me, headphone jack plugged in, power plugged in. I think, well, I already know I'm doing that, so I don't quite know why it needs to tell me. But from a low vision point of view and a blindness point of view, it's a really, really good radio. Now, it's not a digital radio. It's purely an AM, FM. But I know when we had all the bushfires, particularly around where I am on the Central Coast in New South Wales, having an AM, FM radio in an emergency just to be able to listen to ABC broadcasting was absolutely brilliant. So it's just one of those radios that it's just nice to have a really good, strong radio that can pick up signals, particularly when you're outside the major city areas. And then finally, another little gadget I have in my house, he says as he's trying to scramble to find it, is this little thing. Now, yes, it does look like a little saucer. I've got a number of these around my house. This is a Belkin boost up wireless charger. Now my wife's got a much more snazzy one. Her one's is a Mophie Charger where she can put on her AirPods, her Apple Watch and her iPhone 11 Pro to charge them all at the same time. Because I've just already bought these ones, I wasn't allowed to buy any more. As you can see how many stuff I've got. But simply you just pop the phone on top and just let it charge on the back of it. So things like the Samsung S10 that I've got, the iPhone SE, the iPhone 10, the iPhone 8. It's actually quite easy to do, particularly when you put the phone on, it'll make the phone vibrate. So you can actually feel that it's also charging, and I can also check with VoiceOver. But these are only about $80. They're not that expensive. They just run off a USB cable, and they're really handy. So I've got some in the bedroom. I've got some in my boys' rooms. I've got one out in the kitchen. So just where I think I need to charge my phone a bit, I just plonk it on one of these, and it starts charging up quite nicely.
Now, Melly has asked how you would rate the sound quality of the sleep phones.
Oh, probably, I'd say reasonable.
Right.
So I'd say it's probably mid to high range. There's definitely absolutely no bass. So medium frequencies to high frequencies are fine. There's absolutely no bass in them. So if you wanted to put them on and listen to sort of what my son tends to call boof boof type music, then it's pretty poor. But if you want to listen to audio, spoken text, radio type stuff, everything like that, it works absolutely beautifully.
Fantastic.
So, no, it's fine for that.
Now, we need to let people know that if you want a list of what's been discussed, you will be able to review the recording once it's up, and hopefully we'll have a list of where you can buy some of this, some of the tech and the gadgets as well. And
look, I should say at the end too is I'll give you my details to get in contact with me either via Twitter or my email address at work, if you want to email me as well.
Yeah. Now, somebody has asked what the AT help desk is.
Oh dear, we used an acronym, didn't we? Naughty.
Took that for granted.
Sorry, yes. So the AT help desk is the Assistive or the Adaptive Technology Help Desk at Vision Australia, which is open for anyone who needs assistance, who are blind and low vision and need assistance with technology, whether it's mainstream like the Google Home or assistive technology. And you just ring up the 1300 847 466 number and just ask to speak to the AT help desk, and those folks will be able to sort you out. And we're across everything. We're across Windows, Mac, Android, iPhone, smart speakers, smart watches, smart TVs, you name it. We're pretty much across it. And if we don't know, we'll certainly find out and get back to you about it as well.
Now, in the bedroom, are we going to be talking about handheld electronic magnifiers or anything that someone can use to read a book or watch a TV?
Yes, so
or are we doing that in the lounge?
We can do that. Well, I left that to the lounge room actually, because the two last rooms are going to be the lounge and the office.
And somebody wants to know for their dad about Iris Vision 8. Would that be an AT help desk question?
That's that's a Vision Install question. So that's basically where you've got a set of smart glasses that uses the Samsung phone to have yourself be able to do hands-free and also look at the TV screen as well. But what we normally say about the Iris Vision, they're one of those devices that you really need to have a look at and play with just to see if they're suitable, because you're literally wearing a virtual reality sort of headset, because it's based on a gaming headset. With you're literally looking through the camera of the smartphone through the Iris Vision software. And
our stores are currently closed. Well, they're not closed. You can order online, so you might like to wait until some of the restrictions are lifted to go into the store.
As of next week, you can also ring up and make an appointment for a Vision Australia store. And it's by appointment only, so you won't be able to rock up and pop in, but you'll definitely be able to ring up the Vision store. So when you ring up the 1300 847 466 number, you can say, can I speak to someone in the Vision store? And then you can make an appointment. So if you wanted to have a look and demonstrate the Iris Vision, then you'll be able to come into a Vision Australia office and have a look at the Iris Vision.
Now we're going to go to the lounge room.
So the lounge room, now Vision Australia has a really good wide range of handheld, what I tend to call manual magnifiers that you can use for just doing spot reading of print. We also have task lighting. So if you want to actually illuminate something that you're looking at to make it a lot brighter to look at, we do have task lights. And by the way, this stuff's also available on our web shop as well. So if you want to have a look at some of this stuff, it's also available on our web shop. Then you've got sort of not so expensive as the Iris Vision, but you've also got what I tend to call electronic or video magnifiers, where you can do things like near viewing, distance viewing. You can have ones that you hold in your hand, particularly that when you go to the grocery store, you can look in more detail, or you can sort of zoom up towards the top of the shelf and have a close look at something by zooming in on that particular product. You've got ones that are particularly for using hands-free. So if you want to do knitting, do a puzzle, play a card game underneath one of them, and these tend to be more desktop video magnifiers, you can do them as well. So there's a huge range from manual to video-based, even ones that do both magnification of printed text or what you're looking at as a photo, to optical character recognition, which means when you stick a piece of paper under the camera, whether it's handheld or in a desktop mode, then it will also read out to you through electronic speech what that document is. So like I said, there's a huge range, and Vision Australia has all those different range of products that you can have a look at, particularly at the Vision store, or just for general information on our online Vision shops page.
Nice. What else do we have in the lounge?
Okay. Well, look, I'm not going to spend much time because I know next week, I know Jim's going to spend a bit more time Thursday week talking about smart home gadgets. But
yep,
I just want to let you know that I've got 2 smart speakers here in my hand. So I've got my one I'm just tapping with my finger at the moment is my
and
Google
they'd be
Mini.
about the size of a hockey puck.
That's the one.
Best
Correct.
way I can, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Google Home, and the other tiny little one that's got buttons on it, that's the Echo Dot. Now, because we're pretty much a smart home, and I've sort of got a mismatch of things that work on a Google Home and an Amazon Echo, I've got 2 of these in each room, because my Google Home does my lights whilst my Amazon Echo does my air conditioning system. So that's why I've got both of them. I just wish I could have got, you know, just one to do everything, but I had to do a bit of a mismatch of stuff. And the other thing I do have in my lounge room, and I'll talk about that in the office too, I've got HomePods here in the house as well, because I'm primarily an Apple user. I do have a HomePod in the lounge room, and particularly in the kitchen, because I've got the HomePod linked up to my iPhone, so that when my wife's coming home from boys karate at night time, I can just say to the HomePod, "Hey Siri, call Ellen." It'll turn the HomePod into a loudspeaker phone. And then I can talk to her while, excuse me, I'm cooking, and I can say, "Oh, look, on your way, can you just get some more eggs because I'm doing some baking," or something like that. So that comes in really handy. And then one more thing that I've got here is this is a talking telephone. Now, this is a normal telephone, all right? It's a large print phone. It's got large buttons on it. Now, it's one of these phones where you've got a base station that you have, which has got a built-in answering machine, has large numbers. That bit doesn't talk, but this bit, which is your handset, actually talks. So I can check my missed calls. I can put an address book in here. Now, I've purposely taken this offline at the moment so we don't get phone calls.
So this is, can you run this? This isn't a landline, is it?
It's a landline.
Right.
It's a real telephone. It's a real telephone.
I'm shocked, David.
I know. So yes, I do have NBN, but I've linked this up. This is basically plugged into my modem, so it's an NBN service, but it's a normal landline. I just literally pick up this phone and dial. So if I press buttons on it.
8, 7, 9, 6.
Okay, and if I talk.
10.
And that's the cancel key.
Call ended.
There we go, call ended, and so on. So it means when I get home, I can check for missed calls. The only thing it does, which I think is weird, it's got caller ID, so it'll say the name of the caller. But for some reason, with the names in the address book, it spells the name out. So it says Ellen or David or whatever else. It doesn't say, it'll say Ellen, ELEN, DAVID. And I think, why on earth, you've done such a good job with the rest of it. Why couldn't you just make the address book speak the names to me? Just one final thing about that air conditioner before I move on from it, before I forget. What I use to make the air conditioner work, now this is only for a split system air conditioner, not for a ducted one. This is a little device that I've got wirelessly connected to my home network. So it's a tiny little box that I've linked up to my Wi-Fi network, and this is called a Sensibo device, SENSIBO. And what it's doing, it's emulating the remote control that I would normally use on my split air conditioner. And a split air conditioner is one where you've got the head on the wall and you've got the unit outside. That's what's called a split air conditioner. A splitty, yeah. And it works really nicely. So I can change between heat, cold, dry, and fan. I can change the fan speed and I can change the temperature. Now, the only problem is the way that I use it with the Echo is I can say, turn on aircon, turn off aircon, change heat between heat and cool. But to change the temperature or to change to a different mode, I've then got to use the web version of the actual application via the web page, sensibo.com. If I try and use the app on either my iPhone or the Android phone, it's not particularly accessible if you're blind. If you're low vision, you're fine. But half the time I've got it preset to, heat or cold. And it's okay for me to just say, you know, set aircon to 20 degrees Celsius and off it goes. So that actually works quite well.
Now, we've got a bunch of questions. Someone, Google Home Lighting. I'm keen to hear more about it. There are so many on the market and I'm confused. I want dimming and colour change. And this is from Jane. So you can't answer this question in full during the time we have.
No, but I'll do it very quickly. So basically what you can buy globes that will also allow you to both dim them. So you can set the dimmer between 0 to 100% complete brightness. But you can also change the color. And they have some weird, amazing amounts of color. And they've got weird ones like fuchsia blue over mountain mist and weird names like that. So for example, my son on his one in his bedroom on his night light, he has Mars red, whatever Mars red is. But simply what they are, they're just globes that you plug into a standard light fixture, and the environment app on your iPhone or your iPad or your Android device, you then set them up, and then you also link that account up to your Google Home or your Amazon Echo, and that's how those lights work. So it doesn't require any wiring or anything. They just run off your Wi-Fi network.
Angelina, says, if a person does not have a landline, are the talking phones available with mobile phones?
Aha! I'm glad you asked that question. Perfect transition. Okay, so.
But I will answer. Somebody wanted to know Jennifer wanted to know what the phone was, but Margaret said she uses that hands-free phone. It is a Uniden she got from the Telstra store, and she said it's an oldie.
Yeah, this one's slightly different. So this one's a different model.
Right.
This one's called the large print button phone with answering machine
and you
with
can get
handset.
That from the Vision store.
Yeah.
All right, talking phones.
Okay, so talking phones. Now, we all know, well, maybe we don't all know, but up until this point, particularly nowadays, we think, oh, look, if you're blind or low vision, they'll shout you use a smartphone, whether you like it or not. You have to use an iPhone. You have to use an Android phone because that's the only way you can get speech output or large print. And if you don't like smartphones, tough luck, see you later. Well, that's changed as of last November. And I only discovered this about a month ago. And I got so excited that this is now my next favorite gadget. This flip phone is a talking mobile phone. So not only is it a large print phone, because it's got nice large numbers here, I can change the contrast, which I haven't done on the screen. But because this runs on Android in the background, I've got the full-blown screen reader also running on this phone. So as a blind person, I can completely use the phone. Now, what confused people in the beginning was that when you turn this phone on, it had this function called talking keys, which made the number key talk. And everybody thought, oh, well, that's the end of it. I mean, if you're a blind person, you can't navigate the rest of the phone. Tough luck. But I had a look at this phone a couple of months ago and I thought, oh, let's go into settings. And my goodness, under accessibility, there was talkback. And I thought, what does this do? So I turned on talkback and I was able to use the phone book, the calls list. I can send SMS messages. And what it has got, which my Android phone does not have and my iPhone's got, it's got a built-in FM radio. So I can listen to the FM radio. Now, for people that might remember the old phones back in the day in the mid-90s and 2000s where we had just a keypad to type on, because this is basically a basic feature phone, so you use it for making phone calls, sending SMS messages and keeping an address book, you've got to use what's called the old T9 system, which means if you want to do C, you press the 2 key 3 times, because you press it once it's A, twice it's B, 3 times it's C, 4 times it's D, and so on up to 0, which is just 0 in space, but 9, for example's W, X, Y, Z, and so on. So you have to know what you're doing with the phone. But just to be able to answer a call, or more importantly, and people that are blind will know this quite beautifully, when you ring up those automated systems and you've got to press 1 for this and 2 for that, you've got to use the touch screen and listen at the same time. Whereas this one, whereas this one, you go, I am just going to go independently and press 1. I'm going to press 5. I'm going to press 9, and I'm going to press pound or hash, and it just talks to you. And you know,
and where is this available?
This is available from Vision Australia.
Great.
And I just wish we would have told people a bit more about this before, but it's called the 4G Easy Flip Phone. And like I said, it was traditionally meant for low vision people, but since I found this one, and this one is only $199 for a
like much
phone.
cheaper than a phone,
Well,
like a mobile
considering
phone.
that my iPhone SE was $999, it's very cheap. Yep.
So we were in the lounge room. Where are we still in the lounge room? Are we talking, what else do we have?
Okay, the only two things that I would briefly mention in the lounge room, because I know Jim will mention it next week. We've got smart TVs now that also talk to you and are also in large print that you can also talk to as well. So they tend to be the Samsung televisions, and all modern Samsung TVs have large print. They have speech output, so they read out to you what's on the screen, not what's happening on the show, but actually read out to you on the menus and the source when you're changing from Foxtel to Xbox. And also the fact that when they're doing the trial for the SBS, the audio description will also be supported on that trial through the SBS.
Wow, that is exciting.
Also pretty good. So they're just the standard Samsungs. If you're an Apple person, you want to stream stuff, say through Apple TV, watch movies and shows, of course, there's the Apple TV that plugs in via your HDMI port. Or, of course, because it's an Apple TV, it's a smart TV, a plug-in box, you can also watch Amazon Prime, Netflix, ABC iView, Stan, all the modern streaming services, and they'll all work. Now, since we're sort of in the lounge room, and I'm going to stick this one in the lounge room because it's more for entertainment, but I want to show you two Daisy players and then a little gadget that I absolutely, yet again, love as my favorite gadget. I should put that in a little caption on my t-shirt, shouldn't I? So this is the basic Daisy player. So this is.
So what are you holding up there?
So
it's a little
Envoy Connect Daisy player, and I'm actually holding it.
It's about the size of your palm.
It is. And it's got a play button in the middle and a forward and rewind on either side. Up the top, you've got a bookshelf to switch between your books. And on the left-hand side, you've got a volume up, and the right-hand side, you've got a sleep button. Now,
this is to go with the Vision Australia Library and talking books.
Correct. Yep. So you download your books to your PC.
Yep.
Including a Mac. Shouldn't just say PC, meaning Windows. And then you transfer it across via either an SD card or a cable. And then you play the book. So it's a very simple Daisy player. You can't speed the voice up. You can't change the pitch and so on. It's a very basic Daisy player. But the really just a cool thing about it is you can charge on a micro USB cable, or you put it on your shelf in your kitchen in the sunshine, and its little solar panel charges it up through the day for you. Yeah, isn't that cute?
This looks like the ideal sort of thing to like pop in your pocket when you're catching the train somewhere, or you're going on holidays and you don't want to lose your good player, or it's nice lightweight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now the other one, which this is, I'm not going to say it. This is my other choice for Daisy player. This is called a Victor Reader Stream. Now this device not only does Daisy books, but it also does newspapers. So talking newspapers. It does online radio programs, as in internet radio. It does talking tech. It also does another program called Talking Vision, Stella.
Who hosts that?
Excellent.
I've heard of that show.
I'm pretty sure her first name's Stella, actually. So it does that. It does notes, so you can take a recording via the record button here and take audio notes. It reads documents. So if you've got an RTF file, a doc file, or a text file, it will read documents out to you. So it pretty much does everything all in one device for about $550. The only thing this just doesn't have, and which the Envoy Connect doesn't do, it doesn't have Bluetooth, which means you can't plug it into a Bluetooth headset. However, if you have this little gadget, and I'm holding up because I can't see this, it's like a little adapter. So it's like an oversized audio adapter, and you've got a jack at one end and basically a Bluetooth transmitter at the other end. So if I grab my Envoy Connect and plug it into the headphone jack, like that, I can now link this up. This is actually paired to my sleep headphones.
Can you put that in most audio, like if you've got some old-fashioned audio that doesn't do Bluetooth, can you pop that in there as well?
Correct.
Good.
Exactly
that was a question from me.
Yep.
Now, we should let people know that with the Envoy and the Victor Reader Stream, you do get shown how to use them. Like you don't just buy these and then you're on your own.
No,
Yeah.
No, that's right. Now, and look, you know, the some of the stuff here, I've intentionally got them so they're not. I mean, this Envoy Connect, for example, was $75.
Yeah.
This little adapter was $16. So some of the stuff I'm talking about can be a little bit pricey, but
Yes.
it depends on what you buy. For example, the TV that I've got here in the toy room.
Oh, so you got this question as well, Lisa, which I think is a great question. Fine to learn about smart TV if you can afford to own items. Great question. What help is available for those of us who do not?
That's right. So a lot of this stuff you can, depending on what you're doing, you can get through the NDIS, particularly if you're under your own self funding. If you're block funded or agency funded, it's really hard to get this sort of stuff. If you're self-managed, it's much easier to buy this type of stuff, because as long as you can justify it within your consumables budget, then you're pretty much okay. So the TV I've got behind me, which is a 42-inch Samsung TV that I bought 2 years ago on my consumables budget, that was only, when I say only, it was $550, because I didn't need a huge one for the family. I just needed this personal one for the actual toy room here. So you don't need to buy expensive ones.
I'm wondering if now is the time, like, for second hand. And I understand, I do know that Vision Australia has classified
excuse me,
section on its website. And I'd like to find that and get the link for it as well.
That's a good idea, yeah, because we do have, that's still active. I actually asked that question about 3 months ago, and yes, we still have it.
It is still active, and I just have to find it so we can make it available for people. And,
that's right. Now, now we're going to sort of transition a little bit to my office.
No, so Jennifer's saying, are you saying that a TV could be purchased this way? I'm presuming through the NDIS if it's justified?
If you can afford it inside your consumables budget, then yes, you can if you're self-funded, but only if you're self-funded.
Yeah.
So because I bought mine, when I say I'm sure you can do it, I did it and nobody said anything. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
So I bought my TV and I thought, all right, I'll just put it into my consumables. I'll send in the receipt, and I got the funding back the next day, as I do normally.
Now,
and they didn't say anything.
We've only got about, I'll say 7 minutes, because I also have to do the wrap up as well. So I'm just wondering.
Okay, I'll be quick. Yeah. I've got about 1, 2, 3. I've got 5 things to go.
Wow. Because I was going to say we could get questions in from people.
We could.
But
all right. I'll try a bit of lightning quick. I'll just whiz through these last things.
Yep.
If you can't afford a full-blown iPhone or an iPad, but you want to get into the iOS, which in the iOS ecosystem, so like, you know, the stuff you can run apps on, this is the iPod Touch, which is $299 for a 32 gigabyte version. It does have a home button, and wonders of wonders, it's even got a headphone jack, which is pretty cool. So that's the iPod Touch 7th generation. And people have been asking me what the iPhone SE looks like and what it's like. This is an iPhone SE. So it's only got one lens at the back, so it's not a dual camera system. It's only got a single lens at the back. That's my smart home going off at the front door, saying there's somebody at my front door. It's got a home button down the bottom, and it's also got Touch ID. Now for 32 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte, it's $750. Add another $100 on for I want to say 128, and then another $100 to a 256 gigabyte version. So that's why I said mine was $999. But if you don't like Face ID, which I don't, then the iPhone SE, which has the same processor as an iPhone 11, is absolutely brilliant. And if you want to see what the difference is in size, the one without a case, that's the difference. So on one side, I've got the iPhone 11, which has got the dual camera.
Inch, and it's much wider as well.
Correct. Yeah. So I can put that in front of it, and that's what it looks like in front of it. So it's a little bit bigger. But the thing about the iPhone 11, it doesn't have, it's got Face ID and there's no home button. So people that love their home buttons, the iPhone SE that's also got a A13 Bionic chip in it is absolutely fantastic. And the last device, just last one, I promise, is this one that I got from overseas. Now this charger, if I can find the button, if I press it, this is a power bank. If I press it.
What is this we've got here?
This is a power bank.
Oh.
So you know how when you get a power bank and you plug things into it to charge up if you're out and about? Well, normally as a blind person, I've got no idea how much charge are in these power banks. But this one, when you press the power button, each beep means it's 25% charge, which means I've got between 75 to 100% charge in here. And when I plug in the device to charge it, it also beeps twice to let me know the actual thing I've got plugged into it is charging. So this is called the EngaGrid accessible charger.
And where can that be purchased?
I got that from the AT guys in the States. So that's atguys.com. Because I never liked the fact that when you, as a blind person, I don't like the fact that I can't tell whether a charger has got charge, and even if it's charging the stuff that I've got plugged into it or not.
We've got time for, I'm going to throw a question at you, because this is what people, what do the Envoy Connect, what does the Envoy Connect do, and what does the Victor Reader Stream doesn't do? And what are the benefits of having both? And that's from Kathy. And Cecile also said, I want one. I think what you were talking about, not the Envoy, the power bank,
yeah.
And we've got Paul from Kenya is on the line. He says, I'm learning a lot. Hi, Paul.
Excellent, mate.
Yeah.
So look, remember the Envoy Connect, all as it does, it will only do talking audio books, full stop. And you can't make any changes in the software at all. You can basically play, fast forward, rewind, stop and play, and that's it. You can change your books, like from book to book, but that's it. Whereas with the Victor Reader Stream, it will play audio books, text books. So, because with Daisy Books, you can get them from both an audio format or a text format, like a document. You can record notes on it, which you can't do on the Envoy Connect. You can play podcasts via the internet. You can play internet radio stations. You can play music on it. You can, like I said, read documents like Word documents and so on. So it's a lot more sophisticated. The Envoy Connect is just supposed to be a very basic Daisy player, so that you can listen to your audio talking book from Vision Australia at that standard speed. And like I said, you can't change it. But for a $75 player, it's really, really good.
Now we have to go. We've run out of time. This has been so much fun and so interactive. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. People obviously want to know a lot. So recordings of past webinars and a schedule of upcoming sessions can be accessed at our webpage, visionaustralia.org. Check in and chat. Now, don't forget, if you can call our helpline, Vision Australia's AT helpline. What's the number on that, David?
So the number is 1300 847 466. So that's 847 466. Yep.
Yep. And just ask for the AT helpline. Vision Australia is currently offering services via telehealth in all states except South Australia. Appointments are conducted over the phone via video conferencing, email, or a combination. And you can contact our Assistive Technology Help Desk. It was in my notes all along. If you'd like get support in getting set up for telehealth, or you've heard anything on today's program, and get on to our webpage. And I'm also going to try and find the link to the classifieds where you can often buy some secondhand and hopefully secondhand gadgets. And is there other ways that people can connect to technology? You can listen to Talking Tech. You can find David on Twitter.
Which is at D Woodbridge. Yep.
D Woodbridge. And Talking Tech you can find on iTunes. You can get on Vision Australia. Just ring up, talk, find out where.
Absolutely. And what I normally say on
my... got a mail? Go on.
So my email, if you want to email me, and please feel free to do that, because I always say this at the end of my weekly radio program, it's david.woodbridge, how it sounds. So david.woodbridge@visionaustralia.org. And I'm always happy to actually share information about anything about my favorite gadgets. And look, if you've got stuff that you'd like me to cover in Talking Tech in particular, or I've got my other podcast called I See Various Technologies from a Blind Person's Perspective podcast as well. If there's anything you'd like me to do a podcast on that you can listen to in more detail, then feel free to ask me that as well, either on Twitter.
We're getting the wrap-up signal. It's david.woodbridge@visionaustralia.org. Don't forget, we've got more webinars coming up next week. Seeking Employment in tough times,
Beautiful.
Tuesday the 19th, and learn all about smart home tech on the 21st. Thank you very much for attending today.
Thank you.